The silent observers. First Officer Zextal stood before the Kraxan High Council's curved obsidian table, his iridescent scales reflecting the dim light of the chamber. The preliminary report on Species 7249C, designated humans, floated in the air behind him, projected in glowing Kraxan script. "Remarkable," he said, gesturing to a series of data points. "They possess no unified planetary government. Their technology is centuries behind ours, and they still rely on chemical propulsion for most space travel. Yet they've survived 3 near-extinction events in their recorded history." High Commander Verlon's primary eyes narrowed while her secondary set scanned the data. "Your recommendation, First Officer." "Classification as a containment species," Zextal replied without hesitation. "Their adaptability index exceeds safety parameters. They show concerning signs of rapid technological progression, especially in crisis situations." The council chamber filled with the soft rustling of scales as the 12 council members shifted in their seats. Classification as a containment species was rare. Only 8 other civilizations in known space had earned such designation. "Elaborate," Verlon commanded. Zextal advanced the projection. "Their information networks are primitive but remarkably resilient. They've developed over 40,000 spoken languages, yet maintain global communication. Their social structures are chaotic, but demonstrate extraordinary stability under pressure." He paused, allowing the implications to sink in. "Most concerning is their response to existential threats." The projection shifted to display historical data. When faced with large-scale challenges, they exhibit unprecedented levels of cooperation while maintaining their chaotic individual nature. "It's a paradox we've never observed in any other species." Verlon's scales rippled in thought. "You believe they pose a future threat to Confederation stability?" "Not immediately," Zextal said. "But their development curve suggests they'll achieve interstellar capabilities within 50 years. Given their unusual characteristics, I recommend immediate implementation of Standard Containment Protocol 773. The chamber fell silent. Protocol 773 was among the Confederation's most sophisticated intervention programs, a centuries-old system designed to subtly manipulate developing species into controllable patterns of behavior. "Approved," Verlon declared after consulting with her fellow council members. "Begin immediate implementation. Full spectrum monitoring, targeted social manipulation, controlled technological leaks. Standard procedure." Zextal bowed and left the chamber, already composing orders for his containment teams. The humans would never know they were being guided, their societies carefully nudged toward patterns the Confederation could predict and control. It was for their own good, after all. Uncontrolled species inevitably destroy themselves or others. 6 months later, Zextal stood in the observation dome of Research Station, Gamma 379, orbiting Earth's moon in perfect sensor-shielded silence. Below him, the blue-white marble of humanity's homeworld turned slowly in the void. "Remarkable progress," his assistant, Nira, reported. "The humans are responding to our social catalyst programs exactly as predicted. The introduced political tensions in Region 47 have increased resource allocation to military research by 12%. Zextal's scales rippled with satisfaction. "Excellent. Have they detected any of our observation posts?" "Negative," Nira replied. "Their scanning technology remains focused on radio waves and basic optical observation. Our quantum field generators are well beyond their detection capabilities." "Perfect. Proceed with Phase 2. Begin introducing the technological packets we prepared. Let's see how they handle some carefully controlled advancement." But as Zextal watched Earth rotate below, he missed the significance of several data points. He didn't notice how the humans' public space programs seemed almost deliberately primitive compared to their classified projects. He overlooked the pattern of satellite deployments that just happened to create periodic gaps in global coverage, gaps that perfectly matched the Confederation's observation schedule. In a bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Sarah Chen studied a holographic display of her own. Around her, 24 of Earth's top scientists and military strategists watched as she highlighted a series of anomalies. "They're definitely getting bolder," she said. "The pattern of interference is becoming clearer. They're testing us, watching how we react to controlled chaos." She gestured to a global map showing apparent random patterns of social unrest. "But they're making mistakes. Their algorithms don't fully account for human unpredictability." General Michael Santos leaned forward. "How long until they realize we know?" "They won't," Dr. Chen said with quiet confidence. "Their entire containment protocol is based on the assumption that we're centuries behind them technologically. They don't realize we cracked their quantum field communications 2 years ago. As far as they're concerned, we're still arguing about whether aliens exist." "And the countermeasures?" Santos asked. "Ready for implementation whenever needed. Every piece of technology they've leaked to us has been thoroughly analyzed and improved upon. We've built countermeasures into our very infrastructure, disguised as inefficiencies and design quirks." She smiled. "They think they're watching a primitive species take its first steps into space. They don't realize they're watching a carefully crafted performance." Santos nodded gravely. "Continue monitoring. Let them think their experiment is proceeding as planned. But the moment they cross the line, the moment they put human lives at serious risk," Dr. Chen finished, "we show them exactly how much we've learned from their containment program." As the meeting concluded, Dr. Chen remained behind, studying the patterns of Confederation activity. She understood something the Craxan couldn't. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their adaptability. It was their patience, their ability to see the longer game and wait for the right moment to reveal their true capabilities. Above, Zextal continued his observations, believing himself the unseen puppeteer, never suspecting that his subjects had long ago spotted the strings and were simply waiting to show him who was really in control. The Craxan's containment protocol continued, and humanity let them believe in their success. For now, patterns in the dark. The Craxan monitoring station's quantum field generators hummed silently as Nera reviewed the latest behavioral data from Earth. Something wasn't adding up, but she couldn't quite identify what was bothering her about the patterns she observed. "First officer," she called out to Zextal, who was examining a holographic representation of human military deployments. "I've noticed an anomaly in the data streams." Zextal glided across the observation deck, his scales shifting to match the darker lighting near Nera station. "Explain." "The humans are responding to our social catalysts exactly as predicted, almost too perfectly." She brought up a series of charts. "Look at these response patterns. When we introduce political tension, they react with military buildups. When we leak technology, they implement it exactly as our models predict. But, Zextal's secondary eyes focused on the data, while his primary set watched Nera's expression. "There's no noise in the data. No random variations. Every species we've contained before showed at least some degree of unexpected behavior. The humans are following our predicted patterns with 99.7% accuracy." Zextal dismissed her concerns with a wave of his hand. "That merely proves the effectiveness of our containment protocols. The humans are behaving exactly as we designed them to. It's a testament to our understanding of their psychology." In a secured facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Chen watched this exact conversation play out on a quantum-entangled display. Next to her, Dr. James Wong, head of Earth's Xenotechnology Division, allowed himself a small smile. "They're starting to notice the patterns," he said. "Should we introduce some randomness into our responses?" Chen shook her head. "No. Let them see what they expect to see. The fact that they're questioning the data means we're approaching a critical point. Their next move will be to escalate the testing. They'll want to prove their models correct. And that's when they'll make their mistake," Wong concluded. "Exactly." Chen brought up a different display, showing the global network of hidden human installations. What appeared to be ordinary buildings, military bases, and research facilities on the surface were actually parts of an interconnected defense system specifically designed to counter Kraxan technology. Above them, in the facility's command center, General Santos was briefing the World Security Council. Representatives from every major nation watched as he outlined the latest developments. The Kraxan have accelerated their testing schedule, Santos reported. In the past month, they've introduced 3 new technological leaks through their front companies. He gestured to a series of seemingly unrelated tech startups that had recently announced breakthrough innovations. And our countermeasures? Asked the Chinese representative. Already in place, Santos replied. Every piece of technology they've leaked has been quarantined, studied, and improved upon. We're maintaining our facade of struggling to implement their innovations while actually developing superior versions. The Russian representative leaned forward. The risk of exposure grows with each passing day. Perhaps it's time to confront them directly. No, Chen interjected from her video feed. The moment we reveal our true capabilities, we lose our greatest advantage. The Kraxan's overconfidence is our shield and our weapon. Let them continue believing their containment protocol is working. Back on the Kraxan station, Zextol was preparing his quarterly report to the High Council. The data showed exactly what they wanted to see, a primitive species being carefully guided toward a controlled advancement path. He included Neera's concerns about the perfect response patterns, but dismissed them as evidence of the protocol's success. Initiate Phase 3, he commanded. It's time to see how they handle some real pressure. Neera began implementing the new protocols, unaware that every command she sent was being intercepted, analyzed, and allowed to proceed only because Earth's defenders had already prepared countermeasures. In offices, labs, and military installations around the world, humans continued their careful dance of apparent primitive struggle while building and refining technologies that would have shocked their would-be controllers. They maintained their daily routines, went about their lives, and waited. Dr. Chen stood in her underground lab, watching the Kraxan ships moving into position for their next series of tests. On her desk sat a small device, a quantum field generator reverse-engineered from Kraxan technology, but modified and improved in ways its creators hadn't thought possible. Similar devices were hidden in locations across the globe, ready to be activated the moment they were needed. They still don't understand, she murmured to herself. They think they're watching an experiment, but they're actually part of one. The Kraxan's Phase 3 would prove to be more aggressive than their previous interventions. They planned to introduce artificial natural disasters, economic crises, and social upheavals, all carefully calculated to test humanity's response to extreme pressure. What they didn't know was that humanity had already survived countless real disasters, genuine crises, and authentic upheavals. They had learned and adapted and grown stronger. The Kraxan's manufactured challenges would be like fire drills to a species that had already walked through real flames. As Zextol's ship moved into position to begin the new phase of testing, he remained completely unaware that his every move was being monitored, analyzed, and countered by the very beings he thought he was studying. The humans watched and waited, their patience not a sign of weakness, but a weapon being honed to perfection. The true test was coming, not for humanity, but for the Kraxan Confederation. And like so many before them, they were about to learn that underestimating humans was a mistake that came with devastating consequences. The breaking point. The accident happened on a Tuesday. Zextol's Phase 3 experiment called for a controlled seismic event off the coast of Japan, small enough to avoid major damage but sufficient to test human disaster response protocols. The quantum resonance device they planned to use had been tested thoroughly in uninhabited systems. But the Kraxan had never tested it near a planet with an active technological civilization. They didn't realize their device would interact with the quantum field generators humans had secretly built into their infrastructure. They couldn't have known that their carefully calculated tremor would cascade into something far more dangerous. Dr. Chen saw it coming 3 seconds before it happened. Her quantum monitoring systems detected the frequency interference pattern building to catastrophic levels. Abort all containment protocols, She shouted into the global command network. Emergency Plan Delta. Authorization, Chen Alpha 7. Around the world, hidden human installations activated. Quantum dampening fields sprang to life, desperately trying to contain the resonance cascade. But they couldn't stop it completely. The seismic event struck with 10 times the intended force. A 30-foot tsunami raced toward the Japanese coast. 3 million lives hung in the balance. In that moment, humanity finally revealed what they were truly capable of. Massive structures rose from the seafloor, wave diffusion arrays built in secret over the previous 5 years. They didn't try to stop the tsunami. Instead, they broke it into hundreds of smaller waves, dispersing its energy harmlessly across a wider area. Along the coast, buildings that had appeared normal transformed, revealing advanced force field technology that the Kraxan had believed impossible for humans to develop. Evacuation systems that had been disguised as ordinary infrastructure activated, moving people to safety with practiced efficiency. On the Kraxan observation station, alarms blared as their sensors registered technology signatures that shouldn't have existed. Zextal stared in disbelief at readings that showed energy patterns matching. No, exceeding Confederation capabilities. Impossible, he whispered. Their technology level. His words were cut off as every display in the station suddenly activated, showing the same image. Dr. Sarah Chen, sitting calmly at what appeared to be a highly advanced command center. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Initiative," she said, her voice translating perfectly into Kraxan language. "Your containment experiment is over. We have been aware of your presence and activity since your first arrival in our system." Zextal's scales paled as he realized the implications. "How long?" he demanded. "How long have you been watching us?" "From the beginning," Chen replied. "Every technology you leaked, every crisis you manufactured, every test you conducted. We saw it all. We studied your methods, improved upon your technology, and prepared for the moment when your experiments would go too far." Around Earth, thousands of hidden installations were revealing themselves. Orbital platforms shed their disguises, showing weapons systems that made the Kraxans look primitive. Satellites that had appeared to be simple communication relays transformed into defense platforms. "But our containment protocols," Nehra protested. "The response patterns were exactly what you wanted to see," Chen finished. "We fed you data that matched your expectations while building something far beyond your predictions." In orbit, Kraxan ships found themselves surrounded by human vessels that had appeared from nowhere, emerging from quantum fields that should have been impossible for humanity to generate. "Your ships are currently contained within a quantum isolation grid," Chen continued. "For the moment, you are neither in danger nor a danger to others. We have transmitted evidence of your unauthorized experimentation to the Galactic Council, including the details of today's failed test." Zextal's primary eyes widened in horror. The Council would strip the Confederation of its containment authority over this. Centuries of carefully maintained superiority, undone in moments. "Why?" he asked. "Why let us continue our experiments if you knew?" "Because we needed to understand you," Chen replied. "Your containment protocols taught us more about your civilization than any direct confrontation would have. We learned your strengths, your weaknesses, your assumptions about other species." She leaned forward slightly. "But most importantly, we learned that your technological superiority had led to dangerous overconfidence. Today's accident proves that. You were willing to risk millions of lives to satisfy your curiosity about our responses. What happens now?" Nehra asked quietly. "Now," Chen said, "we begin actual diplomatic relations. As equals. The Confederation will acknowledge Earth's sovereignty and technological status. In return, we will share our advancements in quantum field technology, including safety protocols that would have prevented today's accident." Zextal stared at the human woman on his screen, finally understanding. They had never been the observers studying a primitive species. They had been the subjects of a much more sophisticated experiment. "One final question," he said. "If we had not caused this accident, How long would you have maintained the deception? Chen smiled slightly. As long as necessary. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our adaptability. It's our patience. Remember that. The transmission ended, leaving the Kraxan to contemplate how thoroughly they had misunderstood the species they thought they were controlling. Above Earth, their ships remained frozen in the quantum isolation grid, a testament to the price of underestimation. Calculated response. The Galactic Council chamber hadn't seen such attendance in over 3 centuries. Representatives from 217 spacefaring civilizations gathered to witness something unprecedented. A species presenting evidence of their own secret containment and their response to it. Dr. Chen stood at the center of the vast amphitheater, her holographic presence transmitted from Earth. Behind her, General Santos and Dr. Wong operated a display system that made the Confederation's technology look generations behind. Honorable representatives, Chen began, we are here not to demand punishment, but to ensure understanding. The chamber's translation field conveyed her words in hundreds of languages simultaneously. Above her, a massive holographic display showed the Earth, surrounded by previously hidden human installations and defense systems. For the past 6 years, the Kraxan Confederation has conducted unauthorized containment experiments on our planet, she continued. We detected their presence immediately, but chose to study their methods rather than confront them directly. The display shifted to show detailed records of every Kraxan operation, every manufactured crisis, every attempted manipulation. The evidence was overwhelming and meticulously documented. In their designated section, the Kraxan delegation's scales shifted colors rapidly, a sign of extreme distress in their species. High Commander Verilon watched as centuries of carefully cultivated superiority crumbled under the weight of human evidence. But this presentation isn't about the Kraxan's actions, Chen said, surprising many in the chamber. It's about preventing similar mistakes in the future. The display changed again, showing the quantum resonance device that had nearly caused catastrophe. This technology, while advanced, was implemented without full understanding of its interactions with other quantum field systems. We have prepared a detailed analysis of the incident, including safety protocols that would prevent similar accidents. A ripple of surprise moved through the chamber. The humans weren't just exposing the Kraxan's failures. They were offering solutions. Furthermore, Chen continued, we have prepared comprehensive documentation of our own technological developments, particularly in the field of quantum engineering. We offer this knowledge freely to the Council, with one condition. She paused, letting the tension build. Every being in the chamber leaned forward slightly. The practice of unauthorized species containment must end, not just for Earth, but for all developing civilizations. The chamber erupted in discussion. Species containment had been a cornerstone of galactic policy for millennia. Advanced civilizations had long justified it as necessary for maintaining order and preventing dangerous technological leaps. You don't understand the risks, one of the elder council members protested. Uncontrolled development. We understand perfectly, Chen interrupted, her voice firm but not hostile. We understand because we experienced it. But our response proves that containment isn't the answer. The display shifted again, showing Earth's response to the Kraxan's tests. When faced with attempted manipulation, we didn't react with anger or violence. We studied. We learned. We improved upon the very technologies being used to control us. Dr. Wong stepped forward, adding his own voice to the presentation. We could have revealed ourselves at any time over the past 6 years. We could have retaliated against the Kraxan. Instead, we chose to understand them, to learn from them, and ultimately to help them improve their own technologies. General Santos spoke next, his military bearing commanding attention. Earth now possesses technological capabilities that exceed those of many council members. We achieved this not through containment or control, but through observation, analysis, and innovation. The chamber had grown quiet, every representative contemplating the implications. The humans had proven themselves capable of detecting and countering the most sophisticated containment protocols. More importantly, they had demonstrated wisdom that many older species had forgotten. "We propose a new approach," Chen said into the silence. "Open exchange of knowledge, transparent technological development, and mutual support between species. We have already prepared framework protocols." The display showed a new system of interspecies cooperation, one that would replace containment with collaboration. It was comprehensive, practical, and clearly the work of years of careful planning. In their section, the Craxan delegation was experiencing a profound shift in understanding. They had thought themselves the teachers, the guides, the controllers. Instead, they had become the unwitting test subjects in a much more sophisticated experiment in species interaction. "The choice before this council is simple," Chen concluded. "Continue with a system that has just been proven fundamentally flawed, or embrace a new approach that turns potential adversaries into allies." She gestured, and the display showed Earth's hidden defense systems powering down, their quantum fields becoming transparent to Galactic Council sensors. It was a calculated risk, a demonstration of trust. "We choose to take the first step," she said. "Earth's advanced technologies are now visible to all. We trust this council to make the right decision about how we move forward together." The chamber remained silent for several long moments. Then, one by one, representatives began signaling their support for the human proposal. Even the Craxan, led by a surprisingly composed Verilon, indicated their agreement. As the session concluded, Zextal approached the human hologram. "You had this planned from the beginning," he said. "It wasn't a question." Chen smiled slightly. "The best response to being underestimated is not to prove your strength through force, but to demonstrate your wisdom through patience." A lesson in humility. 1 year after Earth's revelation to the Galactic Council, the Craxan homeworld hosted an unprecedented event. The first Interspecies Technology and Culture Exchange Summit. The irony of the location wasn't lost on anyone. The species that had once prided themselves on containing others was now at the forefront of cooperative development. Nera, now serving as the Craxan's chief of scientific cooperation, stood in the grand observatory of the summit's main facility. Through its transparent quantum crystalline walls, she watched ships from dozens of civilizations arrive, their designs ranging from the purely functional to the wildly artistic. "Still trying to categorize them all?" Dr. Chen asked, approaching quietly. Her physical presence, rather than a hologram, marked how much had changed. "Old habits," Nera admitted. "Though I'm learning to appreciate the unpredictability. Your species taught us that lesson rather effectively." Around them, the summit complex buzzed with activity. Former containment species mingled with their one-time controllers, sharing discoveries that had been hidden for generations. The atmosphere crackled with the energy of unrestrained innovation. "Have you seen the latest data from the cooperative development projects?" Chen asked, bringing up a holographic display with a casual gesture. "The Vexry's bioengineering combined with Earth's quantum field technology has produced medical applications we hadn't even theorized." Nera's scales rippled with what Chen had learned was amusement. "And to think, a year ago, we considered the Vexry too primitive for anything beyond basic containment protocols." In another part of the complex, Zextal led a session on the dangers of technological arrogance. His audience included both advanced species and developing civilizations, all equal participants in the discussion. "The fundamental flaw in our thinking," he explained, "wasn't in believing we were technologically superior. In many ways, we were. Our error was in assuming that technological advancement was the only meaningful measure of a species' capabilities." He brought up a display showing Earth's response to the Craxan's containment protocols. "The humans didn't just match our technology. They understood it, improved it, and most importantly, recognized its limitations. While we were congratulating ourselves on our sophisticated manipulation techniques, they were quietly building something far more valuable, a comprehensive understanding of species interaction." In the summit's cultural exchange wing, General Santos watched a group of young Craxan scientists eagerly discussing Earth's entertainment media with representatives from a dozen other species. The humans' practice of using fiction to explore possible futures had sparked a renaissance in interspecies creative expression. "It's quite a change from a year ago," Dr. Wong commented, joining him. "Remember when they thought our movies were just proof of our primitive imagination?" Santos nodded. "Now they're producing their own versions. Did you see the Craxan adaptation of Shakespeare? Four-dimensional stage design, quantum field effects for scene transitions. They've taken human artistic concepts and evolved them in ways we never considered." The summit's success marked more than just a technological turning point. It represented a fundamental shift in how spacefaring civilizations viewed each other. The human model of patient observation, learning, and cooperative development had proven more effective than millennia of containment and control. In the main conference hall, Dr. Chen prepared to deliver the summit's keynote address. The hall was packed with representatives from both former containment species and their one-time controllers. The old hierarchies had dissolved, replaced by a network of mutual respect and cooperation. "A year ago," she began, "we revealed that humanity had detected and countered the most sophisticated containment protocols in the galaxy. We demonstrated technology that surprised and, yes, frightened many advanced species." The audience listened intently, the translation fields carrying her words to every being present. But Earth's greatest achievement wasn't in our quantum field generators or our defense systems. It wasn't even in our ability to detect and counter the containment protocols. Our greatest achievement was in choosing patience over pride, understanding over confrontation, and cooperation over control. She gestured, and the hall's display systems showed the progress of the past year. Joint scientific discoveries, cultural exchanges, technological breakthroughs that would have been impossible without cooperation. We proved that true advancement comes not from controlling or containing others, but from learning to grow together. The Craxan taught us about quantum field technology. In return, we taught them, and by extension, the galaxy, about the power of patience and the wisdom of waiting to understand before acting. In their seats, the Craxan delegation's scales shimmered with colors that would have been unthinkable a year ago. The patterns of humility, wisdom, and genuine respect. Today, Chen continued, we celebrate not just technological achievement, but the beginning of a new approach to species interaction. The old model of containment and control is gone, replaced by something far more powerful, genuine cooperation between equals. As she concluded her speech, Zextol turned to Nira. We thought we were the teachers, he said quietly. In the end, we became the students. Nira's scales shifted to a pattern of agreement. Perhaps that was the most important lesson of all. Above the summit complex, ships from across the galaxy orbited peacefully, their quantum fields harmonizing in ways that would have been impossible under the old system of containment and control. They stood as a testament to humanity's real victory, not the triumph of technology, but the triumph of patience, wisdom, and the understanding that true strength lies not in controlling others, but in helping them grow.